What a week, FPL lovers. Craziness reigns around the world and in FPL also, in the Premier League. How's it affected you? How's it affected your league position? Hasn't affected everybody. Certainly not our manager of the month. Let's go and find out what's been going on in the Who Really Loves It League this week. Me here in the focus shed again. I'm going to have a look at the league in a minute, but first, if you are watching this and you're not a member of the league, the link's below. The more the merrier, the better analysis we can get and hopefully help each other to drive each other's performance. Right, let's get down to it then. Right, so interestingly this week, everybody, the league is very similar in terms of standings. Not very much movement whatsoever in the league. Scores are between sort of 30 and sort of 40 around about average. A few notable mentions though. Klopp's Troops on 50, breaking the 50-point barrier. The Fresney Dons with 54. FPL Popper, our league leader, with 54 as well. Excellent weeks amidst all the turmoil that's been going on. I've had my best week for ages, guys. I haven't been team of the week for ages. 59 points. Not even going to look at that in this show because I'm going to do my review and selection hopefully straight after this one. What I am going to look at today though is, with it being December or the end of December, is seeing who is the manager of the month for December. And this month it is FPL Popper, Mark de Carvalho. Not a surprise, he's led the league all the way throughout December. Let's see what he's been doing then, shall we, to be so good. Well, if we go right back to game week 11, which was the start of December, Mark actually hit his wild card during this week and hit off with a flyer, 75 points. Great week. 11 changes to the team you had previous to this week, Mark. Straight in with a big score on the De Bruyne captaincy, some with double digits. And with that cancellation as well, so Grealish on the bench that week. Davis probably wouldn't have played anyway. But interestingly, and you've sort of carried on from there. Good point scores every week. Over 66, average was 51. You've scored above the average every single week. 42, 51. You've had these players in your team: Son, Fernandes, De Bruyne, Grealish, that we sort of talked about in previous games. You went and brought Salah in for game week 14, where he came off the bench. 16 points for you there. So you've just aced it really for the month, mate. I did message Mark to ask what he's been doing this month, to have if you had any great words of wisdom to share. And he just said basically he's been keeping calm and consistent, and it's worked out well. And if you look at his week, this last week, actually 0 transfers last week, so no big panics. And what I will say about Mark's team, something that I talked about after the manager of the month, and I've touched on in the shows I've managed to get out in December, is the need for a squad and a full playing bench, because as we've seen last week, your players are called upon like they've never been called upon before. I only ended up with 9 players last week, and I've been trying to build a squad for the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks, so I think it's more important than ever. Mark ended up with 11 players here. The players on the bench are Diaz, Soufal, Son. Everybody else came in. Basuma, Target, Walker Peters. They're the players that came in for you from the week before, if I remember rightly. So, very much so. These guys have been good for your bench. I think you play Walker Peters some weeks anyway, and a bit of a rotation policy there. But calm and consistent, guys. Let's not let the world fall apart around us. Let's not start tearing teams up to fit players in because we're worried, because who knows, those players could be out by the weekend as well. Very much so, leaving transfers till the last minute, I think, is the way forward, and trying to make sure you've got that strong bench. But yeah, interesting stuff. Right, let's have a little dig and see what Mark's been up to there with his team. So here you can see his performance. Lovely and steady since game week 7. A slight red arrow in game week 9, but yeah, climbing all the way. Lovely. And excellent performance. 35,000 rank at the moment, so right up there in the top 50k, mate. Excellent stuff, doing the league proud. I felt for you, Salah, the last 2 weeks in your captaincy, but all season you've been doing great with your captaincy, mate. Just the last 2 weeks struggled on that one a little bit, but so did half of the FPL community also. Excellent stuff. This is what I want to have a look at, though. Some of the choices Mark's been making and how it's affected his team. So game weeks by formation. The one thing I've noticed is that Mark likes to play with 4 in midfield, or his team has been almost forced to play 4 in midfield through selections. Only once have you played 3 in midfield, and you like to play 3 up front mostly as well. 11 out of the 16 games as well. So your least favourite formation being 4 at the back and 2 up front. So the midfield is where it's at for you, Mark, and that's sort of reflected in your points per game week formation. Your 4-4-2, your 3-4-3. When you've had 4 in midfield, you've done better than when it's been 3 the other way around. So that's really interesting. Doesn't seem to be making much difference whether you've got the 4 at the back or 3 at the back, or 3 at the back, as long as you've got the 4 in midfield, which is interesting. I suppose it depends on the players you've got and how much you've paid for them as well. But yeah, most of your points come from midfield, 490 of almost half of them, as you can see there. Points on your bench also, like we talked about. Average points on your bench each week, 2.94. So not the strongest, not the likes of criticism at all, but if that bench is needed. But at least they're all playing players, mate, which is what we try and get every season. I just wonder if it's enough this season, but like I say, you did manager of the month this month, so maybe it is, maybe I'm overthinking it. Now this is very interesting. Most effective player for you, Aubameyang. I didn't have that down for anybody this season, but obviously I think you had him in for 2 game weeks. Your most captain is Son. Fernandez is your most captain points. Favourite team's Tottenham, so Son and Kane, I think, for most of the season. And when I looked at your team, this is the amount of points each player's contributed to the team. It's Son and Fernandez that are right up there as the biggest contributors. Vardy second. Obviously, you've not had them in the team all season, but Son's been there for 15 games out of the 16, 12 games for Fernandez. Vardy for 10 games. These are the big guys who are contributing. Points per game week. Have a look at that and see who's been delivering the most. Aubameyang, but as we can see here, this is games played in your team, so it's only over 2 games, and I think he was captain for one of those as well, or maybe even both of those. Number of times you made the player captain, so that's from two captains' performances. So really interesting, guys. Really interesting to see who it's been built around, who's been successful in this team. Points per million. I always find this really interesting because that, I find, should be the answer to success, because the more points you can get for your £100 million, equals the higher up the league you are. Obviously, there's the trading and getting all your timing right for that. But Son, right up there. Fernandez, right up there. Justin, right up there. Vardy, Grealish, McCarthy, great in goal for you. Adams, interestingly, not Salah. He's right down here in his value points per million for you, but you haven't had him in all season. Only 3 games, but two points per £1 million for you. It does change if you look at points per game week, though, over 3 games, and that is the currency, I suppose. Also, is it that one? Points per game week. Yeah, he's right up there. Not as many as Dallas. for your team, but more than Mane for his 3 game weeks. Not as many as De Bruyne, so it does matter when you have these players in your team, doesn't it? It really does. Captaincy, I found really interesting. Son, he's been there for you most of the season, either there or vice captain. And Fernandez have been the 2 players that you've really sort of targeted for your captaincy. De Bruyne's been in there as well, and he had that one great haul for you. So awesome. But that 376. I think Fernandez is the go-to captain, isn't he, this season, guys? I really do. The only thing I will say, Mark, is something different to what I've done, but maybe this is the right thing to do, is the players you do have for your bench are budget options. Your Soufal, your Bissouma, and your target, albeit they're playing options. And are you getting like the massive returns that you'd hope to get from them when they do come in? But then without them, then you can't afford Vardy, Salah, Fernandez in your team, can you? You have to make a sacrifice somewhere. So interested to see what you continue to do there, Mark. Lovely. Thank you very much for pushing us on top of my little mini league. So but I'm trying to trying to catch up with you, which is pushing me, which is what I want this league to be. The strongest it can be to push each other. Absolutely buzzing, mate. Nice one. Right, let's go and have a look and see what trends we can spot in the actual league itself then. Let's close that down and bring that up. So, like I said, yeah, I had the most points last, that most captained, most Salah. Unlucky for those of you that did. 2 weeks on the run now, he's caused that pain for people. And our most owned player is Son at the moment. Most transferred in, Sigurdsson. Okay, on the radar, I think. And rightly so, playing in an advanced role now for Everton. And on free kicks, corners, penalties, James Rodriguez keeps dragging this injury on, and maybe now is the time to, £1 million cheaper nearly. Maybe he's a great signing. He's been a great asset for people along the way, certainly when he played for Swansea. Excellent player, great value for money, and he is below £7 million, so maybe he is someone to be keeping an eye on, playing in the blank as well. Those transferred out. Bowen's gone for people. 2 people. Werner. People have had enough. De Bruyne. People taking De Bruyne out. Interesting. Let's have a look. Like we said, Salah over half the captaincy. Lots of ones. Keane, Son. Other captains coming in. But yeah, our most owned player is Son. Bamford. Salah's right up there. 5 people not owning Salah, that's me as well. It's a hard watch, isn't it? When he's not playing. Fernandez, Grealish, Kane, everyone building their teams around Bamford and Son. Great value players delivering consistently. Calvert-Lewin dropping right down in less than half the teams now, almost becoming a differential. Dallas climbing the ranks. I think a lot of people are going to be looking at Dallas now. Interesting to see how he has in the last sort of half. What I noticed with him in the first 8 game weeks, he had 3 returns, and in the last 8 game weeks, he's had six returns. So he really is a player that's sort of settled into the league really well, and let's hope that continues. And maybe his ownership will be going up this week. I don't see why it won't be. A defender to keep an eye out for, definitely. And which players are people taking a punt on? Only in one of the teams. Obviously, some will be your injuries. We've got people going for Reece Williams, maybe. I had a game for Liverpool, but didn't start the other day, I don't think. Somebody's on the bench. James Rodriguez, that's me, still holding on to him. Sorry, everybody. There's a punt going out for Eze. Good shout, good fixture this week. Someone's still got Doherty. What a disappointment he's been starting the season at £6 million, eh? Interesting stuff. Right, guys. That's your league update for the week. I'm going to try and do my team review, team selection video, and then a game week preview one as well, if I possibly can. where I'm going to touch on some strategies and tactics for the season based on conversations we've been having around blank game weeks, double game weeks, how to play your chips, etc, etc, etc. And that's it, guys. Thanks very much for joining me here in the Focus Shed. Yeah, see you in the next video. Don't forget to like it. That'd be great. And join the league. See you soon, guys, here in the Focus Shed. Bye.